Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So we have some big payment changes coming to Social Security starting this month and rolling all the way until next year. In today's video, we are going to be covering everything that you need to know. But before we go ahead and dive into for today, if you would like to explore potential huge savings on your Medicare plan, then you might want to consider giving Chapter a call today. With that number up there on the screen, you see, historically speaking, people who have worked with Chapter have saved right around $1,100 on their Medicare plan. So what do you have to lose? The call is completely free with that number up there on the screen. That number is 612-895-2101. That once again is 612-895-2101. And again, on average, people who have worked with Chapter have saved right around $1,100 on their Medicare plan. So what do you have to lose? Give Chapter a call today, and thank you to Chapter for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so diving right into for today. So once again, starting this month, we have some big payment changes that could potentially impact all Social Security beneficiaries, whether you're a retiree, whether you receive SSI, or whether you receive SSDI benefits. These, once again, are going to be starting this month. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the first change coming up starting this month. This article here is from CNN. They say that Social Security says it will no longer send paper checks. What you need to know. Now, of course, most people already receive their Social Security payment via their bank account or on their Direct Express card. Very few people still receive a paper check. They're going to try to completely eliminate that, though. Less than 1% of beneficiaries still receive a paper check, so they're trying to phase that out. So according to CNN, the Trump administration will soon stop sending out paper checks for Social Security beneficiaries as part of an effort to fully modernize federal benefit payments. That means a little over 500,000 recipients, or 0.8% of all the program's beneficiaries, must now choose another way to receive their benefits. There will, however, be some exceptions made. More on that in just a minute. So the Social Security Administration announced in mid-July that starting on September 30th, it would no longer issue paper checks. In a blog post, it said beneficiaries who have been getting paper checks must pick one of two alternatives. One, have their benefit payment delivered electronically by direct deposit, as most people do, or if they don't have a bank account, receive their benefit payment on a prepaid debit card known as Direct Express. Now, of course, there are going to be some exceptions made, so not everyone is going to have to make the switch, at least for now. So according to Elizabeth Warren, on July 23rd, she, of course, sits on the Senate's Special Committee on Aging, as well as the Senate Finance Subcommittee on Social Security, Pensions, and Family Policy, said in a call with reporters that she had met with Social Security Commissioner Frank Bisignano and asserted that he committed to allowing for some exceptions to be made to the new policy. She said, quote, "Their plan is to start with people who do have checking accounts, but he made a commitment that no one will be left behind, and the people who still need access to paper checks will have that access to paper checks." Now, how long exactly are they going to get people to switch to having a checking account? Not really sure. Maybe into next year in 2026. Now, of course, the second change is going to deal with overpayments that have been made. So you might have known someone, or maybe even yourself, you may have received a letter in the mail from the Social Security Administration, or you may have even heard this on the news. This over the past year has really made headlines, where some people have been receiving letters in the mail from the SSA saying that they owed them thousands of dollars. Some people well over $75,000. Now, of course, these are more extreme cases, and if you do owe the Social Security Administration money because they have overpaid you, whether it's your fault or whether it's their fault, they want to garnish some of your Social Security check, up to 50% of it, to be able to collect all that money back. Now, originally they were going to garnish 100% of your check. They since scaled that back down to 50%. So we're going to be breaking down everything that they're going to be doing here with this article from the Motley Fool. So they said if there's such a thing as a clear target for the SSA and Trump administration, it's collecting the $23 billion in Social Security overpayments that were outstanding at the end of fiscal 2023, according to data from the Health Policy Research, KFF, and Cox Media Group. Nearly 2 million beneficiaries have been overpaid. Now, once again, the garnishment rate was lowered to just 10% During Joe Biden's presidency, it was initially, I believe, at 100% or maybe 90%. And although the SSA announced plans to reinstate the 100% clawback rate back in March, public backlash caused the agency to rethink this strategy and amend its garnishment rate back down to 50% in April. And with the SSA beginning to send out 90-day notices on April 25th, overpayment garnishments for potentially more than 1 million beneficiaries began back last month on July 24th. So that's going to be the second change taking place. Now, once again, in these notices in the mail, they're giving you 60 to 90 days to contact the SSA. That amount of days allows you to sort of plan for things, and you can actually even negotiate the rate. So maybe you can't afford to have 50% of your Social Security check garnished. They might allow you to only garnish maybe 10 to 15%, or even lower than that. It's definitely worth the try. Now, there's also going to be some other changes coming up, although these won't be starting until January next year in 2026. We're going to be diving into what those changes are. Once again, this article is from the Motley Fool. So the first change is going to be a cost of living adjustment. Now, right now, the Senior Citizens League, which is a nonprofit organization that advocates for seniors, projects that next year's benefit increase will be 2.6% based on the latest data. This would actually be slightly above the 2.5% COLA received in 2025. So this would actually be much more than expected. Earlier this year, back in January, they were expecting a cost of living adjustment of, like 2%. But as the months rolled along this year, inflation has actually started to uptick a little bit, mostly because of Trump's tariffs, at least according to economist experts. So we're going to have to wait and see. If that continues trending upward, we might see as high as of COLA as maybe like 2.8, 2.9, or even 3%. But at this point, it's looking like a COLA of 2.6% for next year. That would mean an increase of right around $50 more per month, or even more than that for the average retiree receiving right around $2,000 per month. Now, the next change is that the full retirement age will officially be 67 next year in 2026. So one Social Security change next year that has been a while in the making is that the full retirement age will officially be set at 67. For a long time, the FRA was 65. However, legislation passed in 1983 gradually increased the retirement age to 67 for anyone born in 1960 or later. As of the beginning of 2026, the period of gradual increases will be complete. Note, though, that the early retirement age will remain at 62 for everyone. Also, the age for obtaining the maximum Social Security retirement benefit will still be 70. And then finally, the last change is there is going to be a higher maximum taxable earnings. So someone, let's say this year, who earns $170,000 per year versus someone who earns, let's say, like $10 million per year, both of these people are unfortunately going to be paying the same amount of taxes, the amount of payroll tax that goes into the Social Security Trust Fund. So if you're an employee, you pay 6.2% out of your check. If you're an employer, you're going to match the 6.2%, so that's 12.4% in total. However, if you're self-employed or you're an independent contractor, you have to pay both sides. You have to pay the employee side as well as the employer side. So you actually pay 12.4% in total, but you don't pay that on all your earnings. You only pay that on the first $170,000 or so that you earn. And this is actually indexed to wage inflation. So it does go up every single year. However, it's not on all your earnings. So again, someone earning like $170K per year is going to be paying the tax on 100% of their income, versus someone who earns $10 million per year is actually only paying on the first $170K that they earn, so a very small percentage of their income. So that's going to also be bumped up next year. So they say that the maximum taxable earnings is the max amount of annual earnings subject to FICA taxes used to fund Social Security. By the way, there is no maximum taxable earnings for the portion of FICA taxes that fund Medicare. So once again, the limit is $176,100 this year for 2025, and the latest projection is that the threshold will increase to $183,600 next year. So that will, of course, be moving up as well. And then finally, the last change that is going to be taking place within Social Security is that the standard deduction is going to be increasing by $6,000 for those 65 and older. And then for couples, it's going to be double that of $12,000. So right now, if you're paying very little tax on your Social Security benefits, with this increase in the standard deduction by $6,000 for singles and $12,000 for couples, that could potentially eliminate any taxes that you have to pay into the federal government on your Social Security benefits. That, of course, is from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that was signed into law by President Trump just a few weeks ago. But with that said, that's all we have for today's video. I certainly hope you enjoyed and found value out of it, and I will see you in the next one.